All right. We got class coming in. Let me just go ahead and take attendance and we'll get started. But yeah, it's good. A lot of questions. Kids are very interested. So hopefully that went well for you.
I'm gonna go to question and answer sooner on this one.
Okay. And I just asked at the end there because I thought that's always
No, please do.
kids
I
are
love it.
always curious about that.
I love
How
it.
did so hopefully that worked out. Okay, so just give me a second here, get the bell, we'll get going. Okay, well, let me do a quick intro and we'll get started.
Don't forget to take attendance.
I did take attendance, just did it. Yeah. Okay. All right. We have Ethan's birthday today, so congratulations to Ethan. Everybody had a good weekend. So I want to turn it over to Fire Dave as quickly as possible. It's a lot to share. It's going to open up for a lot of questions. So as you're listening in, just make sure questions. Okay. All right. Well, let me do this here and turn us over. Thank you, Dave, for taking time out of your schedule to chat with us. Everybody say hi to Dave, Flat Earth Dave.
Hello.
So let me turn it over to you and go ahead and share.
All right. So as I said before, if all these three classes were combined into one, I had all of the time, we'd barely be able to scratch the surface. I don't want you to believe anything I'm saying today because I'm going to tell you not to believe other people. You need to verify everything. I live in Connecticut. You can believe it or you can know it, but knowing takes time and effort, and you'd rather play with your friends and do what you like to do than research. So, people are generally like to be lazy. So if you can invent something that makes them lazier, you'll probably be very rich because people love the easy way to do things. And in school, the easy way to do things is not question what they're teaching you, is to memorize it, regurgitate it, get the A, and then everyone's happy, right? But if you were reading a bunch of nonsense that your teacher read and memorized and regurgitated, doesn't make it true, right? You're lucky enough that you have this teacher here that's letting you get exposed to people with different ideas than what the schooling system has, and allowing you to think for yourselves, because school generally teaches you to memorize and regurgitate, doesn't teach you how to think. They teach you what to think, right? Can I ask you guys to raise your hands if you think the Earth is a globe? Okay, most of you, if not all of you, think the Earth is a globe. There might be a couple in there that might be questioning it, but you'd probably be afraid, since everyone else raised their hand, not to raise their hand. So I'm going to ask you when I go to you guys, I want your best proof that the Earth is a globe. And then I will address that. So I want you to come up with, why do you believe it's a globe? And you can't say, because that's what I was told. That's what I read. You can't. You need to come up with a reason. And you have to remember, if something doesn't curve, then it's flat. And if something doesn't move, then it's stationary. All tests for curvature and axial rotation of the Earth have failed and proven the opposite, right? So the Earth at the equator is supposedly spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. 1,000 miles an hour, because it's just over 24,000 miles around. It spins once a day, so you're moving 1,000 miles an hour, right? 1,000 miles an hour, right? Here's a balloon at 120,000 feet. Here's the sun. It's right there. Kind of doesn't look much higher than the balloon. It's got a hot spot, which means that it's local, because if it was 93 million miles away, like they tell us, it would light up everything equally. But it's lighting up right here. It's interesting, right? The balloon was up there for 3.5 hours spinning to the east. It should have landed 3,500 miles west of where it took off, but it landed east of where it took off. The Earth is spinning this way. The balloon went up and it landed in front of the spin. How did that happen? Right? Unless the Earth is stationary, right? So when you think of flat Earth, you think of stuff that Google feeds you like this. This is a false model of flat Earth, right? Only globers think that that's flat Earth. People say, "Well, what is the Earth flat?" And they're the only pancake out there. This is a false flat Earth and a false heliocentric model. So you have choice, red or blue. Which one do you want? Right? They're both wrong. They're both wrong. Okay. When you see flat Earth, they'll show you stuff like this. Oh, it's like this. It's like a turnip pulled out of the ground. Nope, that's not flat Earth. There is no edge. Is there an edge of a lake? If you go to the edge of a lake, do you fall off the lake? Right? What if the Earth is like this? You guys have taken physics? Any physics? I would assume water needs containment. Gas pressure needs containment. How do we have water on a ball surrounded by high pressure gas adjacent without a container to a vacuum of space? If you had a bird cage filled with air, right? Bird cage is filled with air. Of course it is. And then you go in a room and suck all the air out of the room, the bird cage is not going to have any air in it either. If you had a lucite box sealed with air and you go in a room and they pump all the air out, the box will still have the air in it because it's sealed, it's contained. The air around it is the vacuum of space. Put a hole anywhere in that box, it will violently fill the available space. Violently fill the available space. How is that possible? And you say, well, gravity is holding it down. Well, gravity, they say, is stronger right here close to the Earth, and it gets weaker as you go up higher. So you got the weaker gravity up high adjacent to the vacuum of space, which is a Tor 17 vacuum. We can't even create a vacuum that powerful on Earth, right? And it can't suck the air away. But down here where gravity's stronger, I could take a straw and with the weak low pressure of my mouth and lungs, pull air and water away from the Earth. That doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense at all, right? So water needs containment. Antarctica is the highest land on Earth. Antarctica is higher, more than double any other continents, right? If we look right here, this is the average height of Antarctica. Here are the other continents. And it is the container of our world. It's the container of our world pond, if you will. Okay, so large bodies of water at rest lie flat. That's provable. Absolutely 100% provable. This is, here we have a flat thing and I bend it, right? We got a light down here and when it's flat, it shows you what the sun looks like on the water towards sunset. But if the Earth was curved, it wouldn't look like this. This is what we see because water lies flat. It's testably, measurably, provably flat. Now people say, well, the Earth is bigger than that. It's bigger. It's bigger and you can't see the curve, but they want you to believe that you can see boats go over the horizon, right? They want their cake and eat it too, right? So let's just look at a boat over the horizon. Now let me ask you a question. Can my finger hide my entire face? No. But if I brought my finger out here, it sure could. All right. So you have to remember perspective works in all directions. It works top to bottom, bottom to top, left to right, and back to front, which they don't teach you in school. Right. So here we're zooming in, and out here, are there any boats out here? This is the edge of the Earth, right? Because the Earth is a globe. Right? Are there any boats here? We're zooming in, and what we're doing is we're increasing the angular size. And as we do, all of a sudden we go, oh, look, there is a boat out there. Look, there's a sailboat out there. And as we zoom in, we can see the whole boat, right? So if my finger is a wave right here, so my finger is a wave in the foreground, as it goes out, it'll hide the boat from the bottom up. The boat looks like it's going over the horizon, but it's not. It's right there. And if that boat went farther, it would be hiding behind those little waves that are in the foreground. Follow me? It would be hiding beyond those waves in the foreground. So let me show you something you like. This one. Here it is. So here we have the same thing. They say, oh, look, this is the horizon. And we look out, we zoom out, we zoom out. We zoom out, the angle of our attack is getting worse and worse. And all of a sudden, this is the line that we call the horizon. What are these things out here? These are dolphins that are miles beyond where we're seeing this line. So if the Earth is a globe, they're jumping up over the globe going, hey, look at me. Look, hey, look at me. Hey, look at me. They're jumping up from behind the curve. Or is this just an optical thing? Right? The problem is you can see different distances on different days from different heights and stuff, right? But the globe requires a physical horizon. Do you know how far that physical horizon should be if the Earth is a globe and you're looking out over perfectly calm water? Perfectly calm water, because if there's any waves, the horizon will be closer. But perfectly calm water, a 6-foot tall person standing at the edge of the ocean looking at perfectly calm water, that horizon, that physical horizon, should only be 3 miles away. Because according to globe math, there's 6 feet of curvature in 3 miles, 66 feet in 10 miles. But we can see boats and land and people on beaches 10 miles away. They should be 60 feet below the curve. But we can see them. And then you look up Google and say, well, why can we see them? They'll go, oh, refraction. They're magically refracting up and stopping at eye level, right? Not true. It's just a, I mean, they make up excuses, excuse after excuse after excuse, for why we see things. So I'm going to show you something a little advanced here. Hopefully you guys can get this. So this is my front back perspective. Let me just get it 1 second. So the distance between this arrow and this arrow looks to be more than the distance between this arrow and this arrow, right? It looks to be more, right? But if we look, here we got the shoreline, and then I'm pointing out here at this island approximately, and then this one's pointing at New York City. I'm in Greenwich, Connecticut. Okay. From here to here is 1/4 of a mile. From here to here is 25 miles. This is how perspective works from back to front. Just like the sky comes down and the ground ramps up to stop at your horizontal eye zone or your horizon, right? So if we look, I got a boat here and I bring it out, it gets smaller. It gets smaller here. Now from here, every time I go 1/4 of a mile, this boat's going to get tinier and tinier equally. It's going to get smaller and smaller, but in my depth of field, it's got to do that 100 more times. It's got to do this reduction 100 more times. Do you think you're going to be able to see that? No, it's going to disappear into the horizon. Into the horizon. Right? So people say, well, how does the sun set over the water? How does the sun set? Right? It sets like this. There's a sunset. Here I got a coin. I got the camera slightly below the table edge. But here's the thing. This horizon here isn't at your eye level, ever. You never see the horizon at eye level. It's thousands of feet above your eye level. Thousands. Thousands of feet. Let me show you what I mean. Also, you have to understand how our perception works. Can anyone spot the skyscraper in this image? There's a skyscraper, 50-story skyscraper. Can you see it? Anybody? How about now? Here we are in a city looking straight up at the noon sun. Straight up, right? But my perception, the way I designed it, you don't know what you're seeing until you know what you're seeing. So the way we see it, we have to interpret what reality is. So we're looking straight up. We're in the city, and the sun is moving 12:30, 1 o'clock. Is the sun below the horizon or is it beyond the building? What do you guys think? Below the horizon or just beyond the building? Beyond the building. Beyond the building, absolutely. How could we see it again? I can go up higher or I can go backwards, right? I can go backwards. I can go beyond. I can go backwards so the building is, I have a better angle and I can see the sun again. So here's a perspective grid, right? You guys they used to teach us in art. I don't know if they still do, but here's this guy's eye line right here. And I'll put this mountain here. And let's say this mountain is 3,000 feet above his head. So up here is 3,000 feet above his head. Here we got the sun. The sun's just going to go away. Is it below the mountain or is it beyond the mountain? beyond the mountain. It's beyond the mountain. How could he see it again? He could go backwards, right? So if he goes backwards 25 miles, let's say, the top of that mountain now looks to him to be at his eye level. But whether the earth is flat or a globe, it's still 3,000 feet above his head. Right? It's still 3,000 feet above his head, but he perceives it at eye level. And as the sun goes away, is it going below the horizon or beyond the mountain? It's doing the same thing. It's going beyond the mountain. Let's add the clouds. You got the mountain 3,000 feet above his eyes. These clouds, thousands of feet above the mountain, they're all merging into this line also. So all of these clouds over here in this horizontal eye zone are 3,000 feet plus another 5,000 feet, 8,000 feet. This line right here, this opaque line is 8,000 feet above his eye line. He sees it at his horizontal eye level, horizontal eye zone, and the sun just goes beyond it and takes its light with it. It takes its light with it. And it goes away. The sun is a local light, right? The sun is a local light, right? Here's the sun. Are you falling over backwards faster than the speed of sound? Or is this light just moving away from you? It's just moving away. I'm looping it back and forth here, right? You have to believe, if you're on a heliocentric model, that you're sitting at the beach, falling over backwards faster than the speed of sound, adjacent to a space vacuum, orbiting and twirling in 4 different directions at once, and you can't sense any of it. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Let's go to your questions.
So just to clarify then, so are you suggesting then that rather than the Earth revolving around the sun, that the sun is stationary and the Earth is also stationary?
No, the Earth is stationary, and the sun and the moon and the stars are the only thing that move, right? Let me show you. So here on my app, right? We're looking straight down, and we have the sun. Wherever the sun is, it's noon. The sky is a perfect clock. The sky is the most accurate clock. If you think about the most accurate Swiss watch in the world, it's not as accurate as the sky clock because time is based on the sky clock. That's what time is. So every time the sun goes around, it's 24 hours. So the sun keeps track of the hours and the days. See the moon right here? I'm going to speed it up, right? The sun is going faster than the moon. So it'll lap the moon once every 28 days. Wait a minute. Why is it going backwards? Something's going on. All right, whatever. The sun laps the moon once every 28 days. Right? I actually have a test version on the app here, and it's backwards. And so the moon keeps track of the weeks and the months. And then the stars, which are fixed in their position, and we can prove that, they're going faster than the sun, so the sun will drift backwards, and it takes a year for the stars to lap the sun. So the stars that are right here, it'll take 365 times around for them to lap the sun. So imagine these are guys in a road race. The sun is just going to drift backwards slowly. So the sun will be in each zodiac for the course of a year. If you look at in the heliocentric system, we are corkscrewing through space in all these different directions. All the stars, they say that 80% of the stars in our solar system are binary, which mean that they're going around each other while going around the galaxy, right? And then we're doing our thing, traveling 4.5 billion miles a year, but never once do 2 stars ever cross position due to parallax. Every star is in the exact same orientation it's always been through all of time. That's impossible. That's absolutely impossible, right? And let alone the fact that, stars are gas in space, right? Remember we were talking about the gas box? Open it up, it immediately fills the available space. How much gas do you need before gas contracts upon itself and turns into a star? So you put gas in space, it's going to fill the available space. Put a ton of gas in space, it's still, how much gas do you need before it collapses upon itself and makes a burning star? Our sun is supposedly one of the smaller stars. It burns like 100 billion tons of fuel a minute, an hour, or something like that. 100 billion tons for billions of years, and it hasn't gotten any smaller. and it's burning gas in space, right? This is all pseudoscience. This is all pseudoscience. I just, because when I get to you guys, I'm gonna get to you guys in just 1 second. Let's just go over some NASA stuff, and because the only proofs that you're gonna have come from NASA, right? They come from NASA. So this is a scene on the International Space Station, and something happens and it reveals the green screen. He's got a green screen. Why does he have a green screen behind him? Right? And people say, oh, that you don't understand cosmic rays. And then this guy glitching out, look at his hand. There's his hand right there. Right? This is showing that they're using video layering and green screens. Right? This guy, this is a submarine. It's got this metal door. This tortilla is going to separate them from the vacuum of space. That's the door. That's the door on the International Space Station. How's that even? How? This is the Chinese space station. He's got a glass of water on the table. How do you have a glass of water on the table? They didn't experiment with this later, so we know that it's a glass of water, right? This is one where everything brown turned blue and everything blue turned brown, showing that they're using a green screen or a blue screen, and they're having issues. This guy, they're always playing on the space, and his head goes out, and his head, it's a little hard to see, goes out of the green screen area, and his head gets, see how it gets cut off because it's out of the area he's supposed to be in. Right? This is just showing you NASA fails. So if they're faking one thing on space, they're faking everything. This is also hard to see. The reflection in the ball is wrong in the water globule. They're always playing with water. They have all of these electronics all around, but they're always playing with water in space, right? They're always playing with water in space. They always love doing their back flips, right? So these guys were coming in, and they're coming in, and you could see the wire get pulled. Wait, this one might be a little hard to see here. Watch the wire. There it goes. It pulls right there. You can see it pulling him backwards. I'll show you some better ones because till you have a good eye for this, it's hard to see. This is one where they were doing a live stream and the guy just appears. Now, how does that happen? On a live stream, he just appears. He just appears. So is this a real studio or is this a green screen studio? Right? And then this one, just same one. He just appears. Right? And then this guy just appears and fades out. So that tells you they're not showing real stuff, right? And then in 1999, they all got Christmas hats. How cute. And then in 2023, the Christmas hats they realized that there's no gravity. Right? Gravity on. Watch the balls. Gravity off, right? It's like they can't even keep their stories straight. They go on spacewalks, and somehow they get the wrong shoes on his feet. He's got his left shoe on his right on his left. I don't think that would even be possible when you're trying to keep the vacuum of space from the vacuum of space from sucking all the air out of your suit and you dying instantly. Here's Kamala Harris talking to them in the space station. And why they're talking, this guy's playing with this wire, okay? And watch it go right through his wrist, right? They're always playing with something to dazzle you, from the nonsense they're talking about. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Watch the wire right through his wrist. It goes right through his wrist. So they're showing you that this isn't real. Watch, the wire comes through his wrist. There's no arguing. There's no nothing. It's going through his wrist, showing you it's not real. That's all you need. That's all you need to understand that they're faking it completely, right? Right? This is where they do their training for spacewalks in the National Buoyancy Lab. And often we see during their spacewalks bubbles floating around in different directions, right? They're filming underwater. But while they were doing a tour of this one day, the people there were filming and they caught the green screen right there. They're why do they have a green screen in the pool if they're just practicing maneuvers, right? It makes absolutely no sense. One more, and then I'm going to get to your questions. Right? They were happy that the dragon capsule got up there, and they brought some fresh fruit. They had a lemon, and they were playing with it, and they were throwing it around, and he went to grab it. Is that a real lemon? Watch carefully. Watch. You could see it through his hand. This is called augmented reality. Augmented reality. All right. I'll show you an example of that. This is a ball filled with helium. It's real. Look here. Whoa, where did that come from? Now she's playing with an augmented reality object. And they even beamed it in with a little Star Trek beaming because they have kids watching this. They just want to capture their imagination. This is how they do it. And it's just real time augmented reality. There's actually programs you can get now to do these same things. But NASA is, way ahead of us, right? And then a lot of times they do stuff hanging on wires, green screens, and then they also do stuff what's called the zero-G plane. It's a plane that does a parabolic arc, and you get about a minute or so of weightlessness. And if you look here's this guy going around the corner. Watch, I'll show again. As he goes around the corner, he fades out. Right before, because there is no it's only one tube. There's no right-hand turns. So look, they faded him out. You can see, look at this barcode or whatever this is on the wall. You can see through him. Again, layering. They're layering. I have 1,000 of those in the NASA nonsense section of my app. There's tons if you want to see more, but let's go to your questions.
All right, time to open up for questions. What questions do you have? Let's start off with Evan.
If NASA is so advanced and far ahead in technology, then why are they so bad at video editing?
Well, they're not so advanced, and actually, there's two ways to look at that. One is a thing called revelation of the method. Because we are beings here in a divinely created world where we have free will, they are required to tell us. Some people believe that. I believe that. They're required to tell us the truth, and if we're too stupid to see it, that's our problem. And the other thing is, maybe they're stupid. Maybe they are not that smart. I don't think they are that smart, and they do this stuff either because they're stupid or because they want to see how stupid we are. They want to see who will notice. I ask you guys to look up Don Pettit. Don Pettit, who's an astronaut. Why we can't go to space again, why we lost the technology and we have to rebuild it. You listen to this guy talk, right? Supposedly for astronauts, there was like 40,000 or 4,000, whatever the number of applicants, and they picked Don Pettit. The guy is literally on the spectrum, right? You look at fighter pilots, right? The guys in the military, these guys are top notch, smart. This guy is right next to, needs to go to a special school. And so they actually pick astronauts with low IQ scores so they can get them to do ridiculous, stupid things. Next
question here, Atlas.
All right, so you're actually wrong with the fighter pilot thing. I've actually met some Marine Corps fighter pilots. I'm in the program to go and become one as well. There's a lot of guys who are on the spectrum, like with autism, or they have ADHD, stuff like that. They have like neurological difficulties in comparison to some of the rest of us. But I don't think that NASA's just trying to appeal to like people who have kids on the spectrum or people who just are on the spectrum in general. I think the guy was actually a good applicant in total,
I hear what you're saying, but you got to watch Don Pettit's interviews. He doesn't know anything. He was talking about that he was showing the capsule where they look out at the Earth. I forget the name of it off the top of my head. And the guy asked him, he goes, "What if there's a leak?" He goes, how do you patch the leak? And he goes, "Well, if there's a leak, there's a leak. I'm sure there's some sort of procedure." I mean, he's the guy that's in charge, but he doesn't know the procedure. Right? If you watch enough interviews, you'll see that this guy is just an actor. He's an actor. Nobody's been to space. That's the problem, because space is not what they've told us.
Why do you think we haven't been on the moon?
Because the moon is a local phenomena in our atmosphere. It's not a place you can go. I don't think the moon that we see is actually a physical place. And you can prove that it's close by looking at the moon on a full moon night, or close to full moon where you got a nice bright moon and there's some clouds in the sky. You can see that the moon is very close. Is very close. If you look at, here's some different ways of looking at the moon, different lenses, infrared and stuff. And where is the other, the heat signature? Where's the other part of the moon? How come there's no other part of the moon showing? So I'm trying to find out here. This is, the moon is supposedly reflecting the sunlight. Well, here I am, close to noon, next to this ball. How come that's not reflecting light so bright I could read by it and cast my shadow on the ground? But this dusty, dirty ball, 238,000 miles away, is casting light. How does this cast light when you have to take into effect the inverse square law of light? Every time you double the distance to a light, it's a quarter of the brightness. This should be mind-blowingly bright, and this should be just a dim reflection in the sky, but I could actually read a book by this light. This book will actually cast my shadow on the ground. So here is, this is what I'm talking about. If you see the moon, why is the moon only lighting up these clouds here and not these clouds over here? If it's 238,000 miles away, it should light them all up if it's sending the light over.
All right, Neil.
I have a question. So you believe that the Earth is flat. Do you believe that the other planets in our solar system are flat, or do you not believe in the other planets at all? I just question.
Yeah. So the question is, why do you believe in planets? Because the only one that's ever told you about planets is NASA and Disney. And I just kind of showed you that NASA is lying. The more you look into it, you'll see that they're lying about everything. And then again, if we look at planets, I'm just trying to find something real quick. If we look at the idea of other planets, it makes absolutely no sense in what we're seeing. Like, we could see Jupiter. Like, go out and look at Jupiter. It's the brightest light, it's the brightest star looking thing in the sky. It's brighter than any star. It's only next to the moon, it would be the second brightest. But you have to believe that that's a gassy giant 400 million miles away. So if you were on Jupiter, if you could be on Jupiter, you looked at the sun would be tiny. So you got a tiny sun reflecting off of a gaseous planet, and that light is going 400 million miles to Earth, and we see it as bright as the sun. It literally is. It's as bright as the sun. It's just smaller, right? So that's an impossibility when you actually think about that. This is a false dichotomy, a false flat Earth and a false heliocentric world. We don't believe that the Earth is a disk floating in space. The Earth is the basement of the universe, right? The Earth is the floor of the universe, if you will. And there's, we don't know what's below it. Nobody knows, because nobody can get down low enough. This is, large bodies of water at rest need containment. Antarctica is containing our waters. And here is, Australia, South America. This is our world, right? Again, curvature has never been measured. Motion has never been detected. None of the stars ever change positions. The stars are fixed in the sky, and they're local, they're small, they're close, and they're all at the same focus. It's kind of fascinating when you start looking into it. Next.
Nikki, you had your hand up.
Yeah. In the exact photo that you're showing, if Antarctica is supposed to be what is containing our water, in that photo, there's something beyond. What is the beyond of Antarctica that contains our water if the Earth is not a disk, but that is the border rim that is containing our water?
Yeah, great question. So if you look at Antarctica, if you look at this picture as this is a lake in Kansas, right? Let's just pretend we'll shrink it down. This is a 100-mile wide lake in Kansas, and you're on that lake, right? And at the center of the lake is a island with a small mountain on it, and it's a magnetic mountain. So you got your compass. The compass is going to point to the center of the lake, right? So now you're 50 miles from the shore. You can't see the shore. You can't see the center because 50 miles, you can't see anything because everything's just too small and too far, right? On a lake, right? And so if you follow your compass west, you'll go like this. You'll go west all the way around because your compass is always going to be pointing towards the center, and you'll end up right back to where you started from. You could say, this lake is a sphere because I just circumnavigated it heading west. I could head east all the way around, right? Because the compass is always pointing towards the center, end up right back where I started from. I just circumnavigated this lake. It must be a sphere. Now I can go from Australia, I can go north, and then I could pass the north, and I can go south, and I can go to here. Okay, great. Doesn't prove anything. Can I go south and then pop up over here and go north? Nobody's ever done it. 0 people have ever circumnavigated south. Billions and billions have done it north and west, but nobody has ever done it south. Right? They said that there was this one world, this flight that went around the world. So it went from the North Pole down here through East Coast and South America to the South Pole, and then up here by Madagascar and up through Russia and back. And they said, wow, that actually proves that we've circumnavigated the world. But if you look at it on a flat Earth map, that's all they did. They just did that. And they said this is a world record circumnavigation. They just did a lap around this flat plane.
Let me get Dylan in here.
So if like the point of it is about control, like seeing what you can convince people of, then why did people in like the 1600s, whenever they were starting to question the church's model of space and the earth, why were they persecuted, and why were they sharing those ideas of the human-centered model before things like NASA video editing?
Well, so you're believing your history books, and that's one of the biggest lies of all. I want you guys to write this down. There's a channel on YouTube, on BitChute, on all the platforms, but on YouTube you can find it. It's called My Lunch Break. Okay, and he does these 20-minute videos showing you how all of our history is a lie, and it's right in front of your face, probably in your own city. And you can see these old world buildings that are still here from a very advanced civilization that was here just a couple hundred years ago. They tell us that, a couple hundred years ago, we had horse and buggies and we were discovering things. That's true. We had horse and buggies, but that's when we repopulated this world. Again, better than that, on my website, flatearthdave.com, scroll down, you'll see a black and white banner that says Old World Order. Turn off Netflix, watch that video, and it will change your life. You'll understand that there was an advanced civilization here. And then as far as saying that the people 1600s, did whatever, you don't know what they did. You don't know what they did 150 years ago. We have no evidence of any of our history. They're lying about everything, right? During the Wild West, the cities were already here. San Francisco was already here, right? So they're destroying our old world in front of us with these wars that are going on. And they're taking away all of the evidence, but there's so much evidence everywhere, right in front of everyone's face. Watch Old World Order, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. All right, it's on my website, flatearthdave.com. Another thing is I interviewed a 102-year-old woman in 2020 about the world's fairs that were going on, which they never teach you about in school because God forbid. And she said that she was taught in public school in Connecticut in the 1920s that the earth was flat. And then we found other people that said all the way up to the 1950s, they were teaching flat or globe, we don't know. And then in 1959, they pulled the Gleason's map and they changed all the stories. This is all being controlled by the Rockefellers who control the education system. And they're the ones that put out the textbooks and no one is allowed to compete with them. And, your teachers, good ones like Dave, will question some things and let you hear people like me speak that might inspire you to go do some research on your own. But others just follow the curriculum because they just want to do their job and get paid. They're the good order. They're order followers. They're not bad people. They just memorized and regurgitated the nonsense, and they're teaching it to you. So not everything you learn in school is nonsense. This class is not nonsense, but there is a lot of nonsense out there. Your history class is pure nonsense. Sorry, history teacher.
No. I'm being enlightened. Atlas and then Neil.
Okay, so if the moon isn't real, then how do the tides work?
Yeah. So on my app here, if you go to the frequently asked questions, and by the way, the app's $3, but I'm giving it to any of you that have Android phones for free. You just have to email me, dave@flatearthdave.com. Say, hey, I was in the class. Send me the link, and I'll give you a free download. And then you go to the tides section, right? The tides. Where does it say tides? Tides is what about tides? Right here. Boom. And there's a bunch of videos that you won't find on YouTube, but I'll explain. Think about this. So the sun and the moon supposedly pulls on the tide. So you got the globe, you got a full moon, and during our full moon, we have the highest tides. During a new moon, we have the lowest tide. We don't have as high tides. But think about it. During a new moon, the moon's still there. The gravity is supposedly still there, but it's in front of the sun. So you got the sun and the moon pulling on the water. It should be the highest of high tides, but it's not. And the tides aren't correlated to the moon. If you go to, let me show you. I got a thing right here. There's a thing called tidal nodes. They're all over the earth, and there's all these spots where there's no tide, and the high and low tides circle around them. It does not correlate to the moon at all, right? Why is there higher tides when the moon is full? It's because the tides are electromagnetic in nature. The salt water carries the current, and the sun and the moon are the anode and the cathode of our electrical system where we live. We live in an electrical world. You are an electrical being. This world, everything is made with electrostatics. That's what causes things to go down, electrostatics. But the sun and the moon together cause this electrostatic flow and cause the tides. That's why there's only tides in salt water.
Neil, you had a question?
You showed earlier on a map that Antarctica surrounded and like kept the water in. Is there anything beyond Antarctica? Is there anything beyond that?
So
or is that like the final frontier?
It's one of my favorite things to talk about, but I always have to preface it by saying we do not need to go beyond 60 degrees south where we're not allowed to go to prove that the earth is flat. We can prove it. We can prove it here. We can prove it with we can prove it ourselves just by measurements of the earth. So what is beyond? So here, this is basically the flat earth map that was used all the way up to 1945 or through 1945. I am just looking for something here. This is called an old map. I forget the name of it. The Ubuntu map or something like that. And it's showing all of this this land out here. We don't know what's out here, but this map here, if I could find it, where is it? I'm looking for another one, but here's speculation that we live here. This is Antarctica. This opening here might be one reason why they never let anybody go over here. And then this would be more land out here. And it could have its own sun out here also, its small local sun. So let me ask you a question. If there was more land out here and somebody lived here and they came to visit us, what might they be considered? An extraterrestrial, extra terra, extra land from the outer space? The outer space right here on Earth, right? There's a lot of evidence that there is more land out there. It could be something like this, right? And if you really want to speculate, it could be something more like this, right? We live here at the center of this little pond. This is our local pond. And out here are other ponds called Mars and Pluto and all these different names. There's 178 worlds in our known universe. And they're all within hundreds of thousands of miles, not ridiculous incomprehensible space light years, right? A light year is ridiculous.
Dave, we're going to have to wrap it
All
up with because of the bell.
LetterDave.com. Sorry, I wasn't looking at the time.
Thank you, Dave, for presenting to us.